I hope you all can hear me and see me now. I'll just share the screen also. I hope you all can hear me and see me now. I'll just share the screen also. Okay, let's start with the session. So a lot of students had already sent their questions in. So we're going to start with those questions. I'm Amit Panchmatia, National Chief Mentor at IMS. And today here we are looking at asking anything around arithmetic. So there were a couple of questions which were also generic about mathematics or about CAT, which I've kept towards the end. So initially, I'll take all the questions around arithmetic, and people who have more questions can ask me around in the chat. We'll try and answer those also. Okay. So let's start with the first question. How to start preparing for quant if I haven't yet, as I am unable to solve practice exercise after I try to practice on my own? Question by Mahi. Now, Mahi, first thing, there are two parts to the question. How to start preparing if I haven't started as yet? So we are roughly in the first week of May. CAT will be in November. So you have around 6 months from here. It all depends on how much time do you have on your hand. Are you a working professional? Are you in college? What is it? So let's assume you have time on your hand. Start regular maths practice. There is, very frankly, most of the people feel that CAT is all about shortcuts. I don't think so. CAT is about shortcuts. CAT is about finally going through each and everything, going through concepts, pick up a chapter at a time. So one chapter approximately, I normally say takes me 2 or 3 days. If I really want to revise it right from the top and do it really well, it takes me approximately 3 days. Then obviously, depending on the size of the chapter, some chapters can you take more time, some chapters can take less time. I'm not, if there's a chapter like time, speed, distance, it might take a week also, because there are so many parts to time, speed, distance. And if the chapter is like logarithms, it can be done in 1 day also. So it all depends on which chapter you're talking about. And also, so how do you go about each chapter now? I've been talking about this general rule. Go through your concepts. If I believe I saw the questions where you had put up the questions, you're an IMS student. So you have the concept videos for each chapter. Go through the concepts of each chapter. Try and solve the examples. When you're seeing videos, now this is a general rule everybody should pay attention to. Whenever you are seeing videos, any video, whether it is a video which is with the concept videos, whether it is class exercise, practice exercise, or it is a video which you're seeing on YouTube, always have a habit of pausing the video, trying the question on your own, and then going ahead. And same is what you should be doing with even the examples of the concept video. So do that, do the concept, do the class exercise, practice exercise, and so on. Okay, that's how you go ahead with the chapter. Concept videos, class exercise, practice exercise, and then benchmarking test. That's the general rule. Now, the second part of the question, I'm unable to solve the practice exercise after I try the practice on my own. Well, it will happen initially. Maybe some of you all might have not done maths for some years, have skipped or not seen maths of this type. So, sometimes it's just a myth that all engineers will do well at CAT maths. Not necessary, because engineers have done so much calculus. They've done derivatives, integration, trigonometry. All that is not asked at CAT. And hence the maths which is really asked over here, or the arithmetic which we are going to talk about today, is where the engineers suffer the most sometimes. Okay. So it is okay that initially, if you have this problem, take some time off, try the question one more time, then see the video, pause the video in between. If you've got a hint from the video, pause the video in between, try the question one more time, and then keep asking. Right? I hope that answers your question. Okay. Let's go ahead. How to process it? Okay. We have got Sindhu's question before that. Sorry. Sir, while listening to lectures and solving problems during the session, I'm able to understand But while solving the problem, I'm not able to get it or feeling stuck. How to overcome it? Now, this is a problem which everybody has. I saw at least 2 or 3 people asking this problem. That when I'm in a class, when the professor is solving it, when I'm seeing the session, whether it's a live class, whether it's an online or it's an offline class, doesn't matter. When I'm actually looking at the session, I'm able to solve questions. But as soon as I'm alone and I start trying on my own, that is where the problem starts. How do you overcome that? First is confidence. You have to tell yourself that if I was able to do it in class, I'll be able to do it today too. That's one part to it. Second part, what are you paying attention to when you're in class? Now, I normally tell students this a lot that when you're in class, try and look at the way the professor approaches the question, whether it is me in a live class, me in a recorded session, or whether any other professor, whether it's your offline professor, your online professor, whoever that is, see how he or she is trying to approach the question. Once you understand that, what are those specific things which we read in a question? Why is it that some people on first reading are able to identify a question, some people are not able to identify a question? Try and identify question, try and relate questions to some other type of question which you've done. Understand one more thing, CAT is never going to be about the same questions. You can't say that, okay, I've solved 100 questions, now I should get 10. That is never going to happen, because you don't know if you solve 100 questions, the next 10 questions which might appear in the test that day will be from 101 to 110. And so there is very little repeat value in CAT. And that is why even when you practice stuff, never repeat the same stuff. Once you finish the class exercise, just move on ahead with the next thing. Next thing, next thing. Just keep solving more and more new stuff instead of solving the same stuff again. Okay, Sindhu, that answers your question. Okay. Now, let's look at the next one. How to develop the process of thinking when attempting a question that is unconventional or a bit difficult. Now, how do you look at an unconventional question? I'm also trying to see in the chat whether people are asking more questions. So I'm just trying to keep that open too. Can somebody just put up something in the chat? Hi, hello, whatever. I don't know whether I'm missing out. I can't see the chat over here. Okay. Okay, I got Aryan's hi. Hi, Aryan. Okay, great. Yeah, Karthika, I'll come to your question also. Karthika, I'll just finish the questions first, which I've already people have put up, and then I'll come to your question on how to improve time, speed, distance. Okay, so let's go ahead with the next question. How to develop the process of thinking when attempting a question that is unconventional or a bit difficult? Rudrakshi's question. Rudrakshi, great question. How do you look at those unconventional or difficult questions? Very frankly, it is a lot of practice and seeing them before. Always identify the level of a question. Is it a level A question, level B question, level C question? And then if it is really a very difficult question, it is also very important to not get stuck with it, not be egoistic about it and say, okay, no, I need to solve this, not getting into that zone, and also learning to leave it. Now, what are you identifying? So, especially if it comes to arithmetic, say a difficult time, speed, distance question, try and break it up into parts. Can I finish first part of the question? Can I do that much? Can I do this much? Can I do this much? If you try to break it up in parts, it helps a lot. And that is how I would attempt an unconventional or difficult question. Also, look out for what the examiner is asking. So, example, there's a class exercise question in time and work, which I was recently doing with some batch. And, it is that a pipe can fill a tank in 38 minutes. And in some stage, they're very smartly camouflaged that the pipe is on only for 19 minutes. It can fill the whole tank in 38 minutes, but it's very smartly camouflaged that the pipe is on only for 19 minutes. So we should know that 50% of the tank is filled, right? And that is how you look at that question. So as I said, again, there is no shortcut to reaching there. It is just about how many difficult questions have you practiced. Have you gone through the level C questions of your book, or whether your class exercise, or your practice exercise or the benchmarking test? Have you reached the level C questions? And that is when you will start realizing that are you able to attempt them or not. Okay. So is level 3 question from Quantum Cat book recommended? Very frankly, so whether it is Quantum Cat, whether it is some other author, I really don't, there's nothing wrong with any book. Please don't get me wrong. I don't say that any book is bad. All books are good because all authors who've taken the trouble of writing the book have made the effort. I used to use Quantum Cat many years back. No, it's not a bad book at all. Okay. The only question is, have they updated themselves? Which I don't know. I don't think so. They've really updated. And CAT is updating every year on year. Year on year, you're seeing new types of questions. That's the only reason. And also one more thing, Kundan. The question is from Kundan. Kundan, your question is about level 3 questions. I will reach level 3 questions only if and only if I am very, very confident with all level A and level B questions. So that's very important. The source does not matter. Yes, Quantum Cat is a good book. No issues there. But only when you finish level A and level B questions. Fine, Kundan? Okay. Next one, Urvi's question. Please provide a thorough plan to complete Quant syllabus. How to ace arithmetic? Very generic question, Urvi. So I already told you how do you start Quant syllabus, right? So you start with the basic concept videos. See, whether you see them from the videos, whether you solve the concepts from a book, finally you need to know all your profit. Suppose I'm looking at the chapter of profit and loss. I need to know all my formulas. I need to know what is profit, profit percentage, loss percentage, mark price, discount, all those things are cheating, adulteration, all those things I need to understand well. Now, whether I do it from a concept video, whether I do it from a book, doesn't matter. Whatever you are comfortable with. Okay, now I'll come to your question, Aryan. Now, so the first thing which I would recommend over here is, have you finished the whole round once? When I mean whole round, I mean, have you done the concept videos, the class exercise, the practice exercise, the benchmarking test? Have you finished that whole round once? If you finish that whole round once, that kind of tells me that you're thorough with that chapter, at least 60, 70, 80%. When you want to do a second round, will you have time for a second round if you start today? Very frankly, yes. You still have 6 months. Even if I count 3 days per chapter, and I'm counting 3 days per chapter, including practicing, spending some more time on DILR and verbal. Okay. So it's not that 3 days only Quant I'm saying. So obviously I'm talking about working for 6 to 7 hours a day. If you're working for 6 hours a day, roughly, then 3 days should be enough. Otherwise, 4 days. Now, roughly 30, 35 chapters. Even if I count 4 days, say 3 days, it's around 105 days. 105 days is 3.5 months. You have 6 months to catch, and I think easily you can do one more round, because the second round, the time taken will be much lesser. So how many revisions minimum after round 1 of syllabus? Aryan, that kind of answers my question. And in the second round, I don't do all chapters, right? There are only the chapters which I'm really suffering with, or which are important, but I'm still not getting it. I will work on those chapters. And what about those chapters which I'm very bad at? So for example, somebody could come and say, sir, I'm very, very bad at permutation, combination, and probability. What should I do? What I would do is I would just do the basic stuff. When I mean the basic stuff, I will mean the concept exercise, the concept videos and the class exercise. And I would just leave the chapter alone and just pray a little bit more harder for that chapter and say, okay, yaar, let me not worry too much about this chapter. Finally, what will happen on the day of the cat? Maximum one question will come out of the topic, and I'll leave it. I have still another 21 questions to solve. Okay. So Aragya, you're from my batch, right? Which means? Okay. How to revise Quant if module 1 is completed, as it seems difficult to solve again previous questions, previous chapter. Yeah, that a lot of people have this issue. Sir, by the time I reach time and work, I've already forgotten what was then HCF, LCM, or I've forgotten what was then percentage profit and loss and so on. That is why you spend some time revising a little bit every day. What do I mean by that? Little bit every day. You spend an extra half an hour just on an everyday basis. Say that half an hour is only for revision. Every day, half an hour, I will revise something. from the older chapters. So as I keep going ahead, I will keep going back and revising the chapters every day, or once in a week, I will keep time to revise chapters. You will forget. Not you. I'm telling you, if I stop teaching for 2 or 3 years, the level at which I can solve questions today, after 3 years, I'll not be able to solve them at the same level. It is bound to happen to everybody. So if you've not done profit and loss for say a month, you will tend to forget the concepts, you will tend to forget the shortcuts or whatever. And that is why maybe once a week you can say, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours only doing the revision. And that's a good way to look at it. You always have to just give. Okay, so please do that part where you need to revise things, and whether you do it on a daily basis by putting half an hour, or you do it on at the end of a week or whatever, that's your choice. That was Vatsal's question. Okay. Now we have a question from Anish, who's got a longish question. Sir, as per 1 or 2 mocks I have given, what I have noticed is the time I'm taking the answers that I'm getting right is approximately the topper. But I haven't revised module 1, 2 completely, and I'm just giving it on basis of few chapters revised out of them. Also, I'm struggling with number of terms which are low. So, Anish, one very good thing, congratulations, that if you have the same amount of time taken as a topper, which means you're good. As you will revise more and more chapters, as you will finish more and more chapters, you will realize what is that you are having more and more attempts. Understand, attempts will increase with more and more chapters under your belt. Once you're sure, okay, for example, I'll just give example like module 2. Start of module 2 is time and work and time speed distance and linear equations, quadratic equations. Now, once you've done those topics, like when you finish time and work, you definitely have more 1 or 2 questions in the CAT. You finish time speed distance, you have 2 more questions. You finish logs, you'll have 1 more question. So as you will do more and more topics, you will realize that everybody, now this is a generic thing, okay? Please remember that accuracy is very, very, very important. Lot of students concentrate on attempts but miss out on accuracy. I don't want you to do that. I want you to focus on accuracy more than attempts. Even if today, just I'm giving you a very random number out of 22 questions, even if today you have only 5 attempts, but if you're getting all 5 correct, I will be happy rather than attempting 10 and getting 6 correct. Your marks might be same. You will say, sir, how does it matter? I got 5. Somebody got out of 5, all 5 correct. I got out of 10, 6 correct. My marks are same. Yes, but I'll still be happier if you're 5 out of 5 correct, because that is what kind of will keep that habit that your accuracy is very important. If you keep your accuracy up to 80 to 90%, that is the best way to work ahead. So, Anish, what I would suggest is don't worry too much. Prepare more and more topics, and with every mock, you will realize the number of attempts are going up. This one more thing, which a lot of people have a habit, you know, they study everything. They've studied arithmetic, they've studied geometry. On the day when they're writing the test, suddenly what happens? They forget all that and they start solving the question as if it's a complete fresh thing, and they have never taken coaching, they've never studied under us, and they start solving the question randomly by a school day method. Why? You prepared for CAT, start looking at the questions the way we've taught you. It is okay initially if it takes more time, but that's what the habit you should develop. Aditya, due to job, I'm lagging behind in the syllabus. How can I catch up with it? Aditya, this is my favorite area to talk about, Sir, I'm working 8 hours a day, working 9 hours a day. I'm not able to get time to study. I have a lot of travel time. Understood everything, fair enough. Now, what happens is the best part, what I like about CAT prep is, that you don't need to study for 4 or 5 hours all together. Yes, you need to study for 4 or 5 hours, but they don't have to be all together at one time. Because what happens, especially if you look at LRDI and verbal, the way it is structured, one set of LRDI, Aditya, can take you maybe 20 minutes. Now think back a little bit and just put down on a sheet of paper your daily schedule and say how many 20-minute slots in a day did you waste? So my favorite exercise, and this can be done by everybody over here who's here, and you'll it will scare you all. I'm telling you, you'll do it and you'll come back to me and saying, "So this is scary." Just take a simple sheet of paper, and on the paper, write down 7 in the morning, whatever time you're getting up. Ideally, if you're a cat aspirant, you should be looking at least 7, not sleeping for more than 7, 6.5, 7 hours. So 7 in the morning, write 7 to 7:30, 7:30 to 8, 8 to 8:30, 8:30 to 9, 9, and up till 12 o'clock in the night. And just write beside that in a single line, what did you do for that half an hour? So you will realize that you waste so much time. I was on Instagram. It's okay. If you were on Instagram, write it there. At least start realizing that you were on Instagram for so long. I was watching the India Today news or the Republic news. India is going to war. I have to be a Deshbhakt. Fair enough. How many times have we watched the same news from yesterday? How much time have we wasted doing that? Same news, same thing they're saying. I'm not saying that don't be a patriotic, but by seeing the news 10 times, you're not going to become more patriotic. Or then calling up 10 other people and talking about it is not going to make it patriotic. You need to study for CAT, and that is should be your single most purpose today in life. When you make that whole thing which I just spoke about, and at the end of a week, when you look back at it, you will realize there are so many slots of 20 minutes which you can remove. First slot is start getting up 20 minutes early in life, one LIDI set or one RC extra. And same way, start planning your travel better. Can you go to office very early in the morning so that you don't waste a lot of traveling time? Reach there early and sit there and study if it is possible for you. I don't know. If you're in one of those big companies, nobody really bothers whether you reach at 9 o'clock in the morning or you reach at 7:30 in the morning. And 7:30 to 9, could you study there? Because that will be an awesome atmosphere to study. 7:30 in the morning in your office, there'll be nobody who will be disturbing you. And you can sit in there and study. And same way while leaving, can you spend that 1 hour extra there, or in a small cafe next to your office, sit down there somewhere where you could revise a little bit more. So plan all these things and use your weekends really, really well. Okay, your weekends, your bank holidays, all the holidays which are expected in India, use them really, really well. And that is it, how you work. With office, how do you manage? Okay. Tips and tricks for ratios and allegations. Very frankly, a particular chapter, there is no only thing I can tell you, and especially in allegations, what I can tell you is that first identify whether this question is a weighted average question. Just identify that. And once you identify, okay, it's a weighted average question, which means I can use allegations. Once you, because more or less the problem is not how to use allegation. The problem is when to use allegations. People are not able to kind of understand only when to use allegation. Okay, so I'm just going to read some more questions from the chat over here. Okay. So a couple of questions. Omkar has one question. Before I go to the more questions which are there on the slide, I'll come to that. Omkar has a question. I'm able to solve questions without the timer, but in the mock, I usually tend to get blank and not solve an easy question. How can I overcome this? So Omkar, what happens, the pressure is of the timer, 40 minutes. The problem is, why is there a pressure, Because you are looking at the timer and saying, okay, I have 2 minutes per question. Now, as soon as you tell yourself that I have only 2 minutes per question, you're doomed, right? Simple. So I'll just give you an analogy. It might not be exactly same, whatever. I started playing Sudoku on the app some few years back. Okay. In those days when I started, I could make the easy level Sudoku on the app in roughly 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes is assumed. Over the years, I have brought it down. And today, at some times, I can solve it in 1 hour, 1 minute, 15 seconds also. And most of the time, I'm able to solve in 1 minute, 15 seconds. But now, because of the pressure I put on myself of the timer, I tend to make more mistakes. Your problem is you want to solve 20 questions in that 40 minutes. What if I suddenly tell you only attempting 10 is good enough? And we are in May. I'm talking only about May. I'm not talking about what happens in June, July. In fact, I'll be doing a session online as well as offline in a lot of centers, which is called SimCAT Suffer, where we talk about how do you do this, similar things what we're talking today. My point is that in the month of May, if you tell yourself, not even 10, what if you tell yourself, Omkar, there are 8 questions I'm looking at in 40 minutes, and suddenly you have 5 minutes per question, and now you are not going to miss out those easy questions. That is very important. Okay. So, Omkar, can I just hear a yes or a no, whether you understood what I wanted to say? So I can just look at the chat and be comfortable. So, Aragya, my accuracy you're saying is more than 80%, but number of attempts are very low in my case too. Also, I am not worried with that. We are only in the month of May. We are only at chapter 2.1. Yesterday you did with me. We still have a long way to go. As you will have more and more chapters, when you get geometry, you'll have suddenly 3-4 more questions to do. So don't worry today about that. My attempts are low. Your attempts are low because you are not thorough with other topics yet. So don't worry about that. Okay. Karthikeya says, how can I effectively shift my mindset from one quant topic to another while transitioning between questions during a test? Similar to smoothly changing gears in a Ford Figo. Okay. Nice analogy, Karthik. So Karthik, now very simple. How I look at it is, I'll be very frank, I'm a very conceptual guy when it comes to quant. There are a lot of other faculty members also who are slightly more dynamic. They don't look at concepts so closely. So I look at concepts very, very closely, and I tell myself, in this question, what are the concepts I require? Like I was just telling somebody about one of the SimCats, suddenly I see so many concepts being needed over here. You need number of factors ka concept also. You need 30, 60, 90 theorem also. You need 45, 45, 90 theorem. You need some other, you need a trapezium ka property. So many things. Once you are thorough with the concepts and you can tell yourself, okay, what are the questions? What are the concepts in this question which I need? And then you just move to the whole thing. When do I tell people that you are now thorough with concepts? When how many concept videos are there? Does anybody know the total number of concept videos on our portal? Concept videos, only the concept videos per chapter. Roughly 150, 160. I also don't know the exact number. They're roughly 150, 160. The day you tell me that you're thorough with concepts, if I give you a paper and pen, and out of those 160, you're able to recall 135, 140. Recall them. I'm not even talking about the concept in that video. Just the name of the concept. If you're able to recall roughly 140 of them, I would say you're start. If you make me sit down today and do that same exercise, I think I'll be able to recall maybe 150. Yes, the argument can be, sir, you made the videos, so obviously you remember them. But you also have to remember them. I made them 5 years earlier. Those videos are more or less 5 years old. I just keep adding to them once in a while, but otherwise they are 5 years old. You can see a lot of them have some COVID analogy or whatever also. So those videos are 5 years old, and now I can still maybe recall today 150. That's the important one. That is the day you know your concepts well. So Karthik, knowing concepts helps over here. Kush is saying, sir, I tend to study for a couple of days and I take a break and then I'm stuck in that loop and the backlog of syllabus are increasing. Well, never going to work. Kush, have to put down a schedule for an everyday prep. Every single day. You are in the month of May. If you are not going to be able, and if you're starting today, if you are not going to be able to put 5 to 6 hours every day from here to CAT, it is not going to work. Yes, it will still work for somebody who's brilliant. But I am talking about people like me who are average, who are not brilliant and want to succeed through hard work. That's the only way it will work. Soumya, sir, I've been scared of quant since I was in school. Had maths in class 11, 12, still somehow I'm not very good at it. When I think of doing quant, I start and then somehow shift to VRC or DLR. Which means you don't like my face. Soumya, is that what I can say? Right? Go through the concepts, start building upon, look at your favorite areas of maths. Go think back on your school days and say what your school teacher, whoever was your school teacher in maths, which was the favorite topic which you had in school. Pick up those 5-6 chapters first, do them well. They could be geometry, they could be permutation combination, they could be chapters which are not, they could be linear quadratic equations, which are not very difficult. Pick up 5-6 topics. Pick up just 5 or 6 topics, Soumya, and just tell yourself, okay, let me get thorough with this 5-6. What will happen? No, suddenly out of 35 topics when you have finished 5 or 6 topics. Okay. Soumya, the algebra over here, I can read your messages. So I'm just telling you. So, Soumya, the algebra over here is slightly different from the school algebra. Well, the algebra, when I say over here, is you can still go through linear, quadratic, arithmetic, geometric progressions, little bit of percentages. Go through these topics, make 6 or 7 chapters good. Once you finish 20% of the syllabus and you become good at that, no, your confidence for quant will rise. Today, maybe you're all over the place. You're doing one chapter, not happy with it, going to the next chapter, not happy with it, going back to the third one, and so on, so on. I would say first take 5, 6 chapters, go through them, and if you were a good student in school, what you should do, maybe pick up a school textbook, a 9th standard textbook or a 10th standard textbook. This will help a lot of other students also for quant. If you were a good student in school and suddenly feeling that CAT, you're not doing well, no, pick up a 9th and 10th standard textbook and revise a few topics from there. You have enough time. Don't worry about time too much today. Okay. Start worrying, take 9th standard and 10th standard textbook, revise a few topics from there, do linear quadratic from there, do time, speed, distance from there. And once you do those topics and you start getting the confidence, oh, I'm able to solve, then come back to the CAT material and you will realize, okay. Somebody saying how important is plotting graphs functions as per CAT. Okay, I'll tell you very frankly. Now, as far as plotting graphs and functions and all, questions do come from that topic in CAT, but it's okay. You can come back to that somewhere in August. If you're thorough with other topics, go to topics like graphs and functions. Don't go to graphs and functions today, because otherwise you're going to really, really have an issue. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to ignore all other questions which are not related over here. I don't want to get into the India-Pakistan war discussion. I don't want to get into IPL discussions and all that. Okay, Lakshya has a question. Are the questions of the practice exercise and benchmarking test of CAT difficulty or lower? Are most questions of type A, B, C in these exercises? I would say the benchmarking test and the practice exercise are very much CAT level. Some of them are made from based on past CAT questions and everything. So the level will be pretty decent. Yes, as you will start the SimCats, no? Okay, now this is going to happen to everybody. One more thing which is going to happen to every single person is that once you start the SimCat, you are going to have a shock. It's going to come like what happens when you have an accident. Suddenly you're like, oh, wow, what happened? Did this really happen? And it will happen to 90% of you. Please brace for it. Be ready. I'm telling you that is going to happen. And if that shock you're not able to digest, you will not clear CAT. You'll have to give it. And that is why we gave you 3 pre-SimCats, so that you take those shocks in those 3 pre-SimCats. But a lot of people don't take the pre-SimCats. It's okay. Whichever way there are enough tests, start taking the test. If you don't take the test, nothing will work. Okay, I'm going ahead. Some more questions on the screen too. Okay, Alicia is from a medical background. I found geometry quite manageable, but I'm really struggling with arithmetic. While I was able to solve arithmetic questions in pre-SimCats, I feel that was because they were on the easier side. Not necessarily. I think arithmetic questions in pre-SimCats were also decently difficult. And I struggle with higher level questions, especially in arithmetic. It will happen. Higher level questions of arithmetic like functions, maxima, minima, plotting of graphs, inequality, you will find them difficult. Don't worry too much. Do you recommend focusing on certain topics within arithmetic, or should I aim to cover everything despite the difficulty? Good point. Everybody, please pay attention to this point very carefully. Do you recommend focusing on certain topics within arithmetic, or should I aim to cover everything despite the difficulty? So in general, I'll tell you, what I tell people is that when you look at a chapter and say that this chapter I'm really good at, it could be any chapter. You're really good at that chapter. Like, for example, if somebody will ask me, so what's your favorite chapter from CAT? I would say time and work blindly. Time and work is a very straightforward chapter for me. Now, if I look at time and work and I tell myself, I will be able to solve most of the questions of time and work, right? Whether it's a difficult question, easy question, that's for me. Then there are some topics where I will suffer a little bit. There, I at least want to be able to crack the level A question. So if I see a question which is not from my favorite area, I at least want to be able to solve level A question. So that's what I would tell you, Alicia, also, that from the topics which are thorough at, do them really well. So one more thing, when you were preparing for school and college exams, what was the first thing you were always advised to revise? Sharpen up your weak areas. Go to your weak areas and revise them. CAT prep is exactly opposite. Sharpen up your best areas, keep them really well, and just manage your weak areas. So if algebra is your weak area, just learn how to manage it. Can I do linear quadratic from there and so on? Okay. Okay. Does solving all arithmetic PYQs from 17 to 24 will help me improve my marks in quant? Now, so this is a generic question, not only for arithmetic, but for everything. Will PYQs improve my CAT preparation? Yes, it will, but only if you look at the question from a logical point of view and not from that question's point of view. If you're saying that I was able to solve a question and I should get exactly similar type of question in next year's CAT, that is not going to happen. But yes, if you understood the logic of that question, if you understood the concept of that question, it will work. Yes, there will be some questions which were very repetitive. There have been questions. Okay. So it always happens. So don't worry about that. I have taken the pre-sim cards, which I just told you your scores are horrible. So scores will be horrible initially. Don't worry about them. PYQs, I would recommend to come back to a little bit later. Come back to a little bit later. You should always first finish what I just told you. Concept videos, class exercise, practice exercise, benchmarking test. Laksh, what you're saying makes sense. If you're going there, reaching there, I think you will do well. Okay. When I attend class, okay, this I've already answered more or less. The part about where you're zoned out, the first part I've already answered, Nitin. The second part of the question, I feel I zone out during the math section. Now, why does that happen? There could be one major reason is fatigue. Most of y'all have not sat down for 2 hours continuously and continuously thinking. Now, you all will argue with me saying, but sir, we've given college exams also, which were 3 hour exams. Let me explain the difference to you. In a college exam, what happens is that when you're writing a college exam, you don't have to think all the time. Most of the colleges, I'm not saying everywhere, like I was seeing the NMIMS paper recently, the NMIMS paper, there's a lot of thinking to do, but most of the other papers, theory papers especially, are more or less just whatever you've learned, you just go and kind of uh, remove it on the paper. I used to use the word vomit, but that's not a great word to use. I basically just whatever I prepare, I just go and write it down. While what happens in CAT, you're continuously thinking for 2 hours. Okay. So now one very good advice, and this advice, even a lot of found this very good, and they say that sir, based on this, we've been also giving this advice to students. One advice which I always give to students is this one: pay attention. Every time you take a SimCAT, there are 3 sections, right? 40, 40, 40. There are 3 sections of 40, 40, 40 minutes. You should not get up from your seat and you should start a 4th section. It could be a section test. It could be 4 sets of every time a new section. So suppose when you were taking pre-SimCAT 1, you did verbal, LRDI, Quant, start one more Quant section. From where, I don't care. That's your problem. Start from wherever you want. Then when you do pre-SimCAT 2, the 4th section can be again verbal. When you do pre-SimCAT 3, the 4th section can be LRDI. Why am I telling you this? Important is that you will start building stamina for 2 hours, 40 minutes. Day of the CAT will be still 2 hours only, but you will build stamina for 2 hours, 40 minutes, and you will not realize it. It will help you so much. Nobody will realize it today, but finally on the day of the CAT, it will help you a lot. So please do that. Okay. So Nitin, I hope I have answered your question. How do we select the right set of questions to solve in the test? ABC analysis. Please look at all the video solutions which we make for the test. Okay, we make video solutions for each and every questions, pre-SimCAT, CAT, and we also, within that, we talk about what was level A question, what was level B question. Is it a level B today? Can it become a level A? It's a level C, really bad level C. Should you leave it? All those things you should keep looking at. And then we will talk about that we will talk about some strategy videos. So within these sessions, we'll have one more session later where we'll actually talk only about strategy, how to select questions in CAT, especially in Quant, LRDI, all that stuff we will do. And that will really help. So Nikhil, that's your question. That was a very important question. The questions which I have kept bold are the ones which I felt were important. I think most of the questions are done. Anybody has anything else, then I'll just wait a couple of 30, 40 seconds if you have more questions. Now, there were three questions which were the p-value on your SIMCAT is basically looking at the how many people have attempted it, how many people have got it right. It is all explained in a video. You can have a look at it. Okay. Best way to start DILR as a beginner. See my video, which I made a couple of weeks back. It is there on YouTube. 4 sets a day, 2 LR, 2 DI. Just keep doing them every day. It's like a medicine. Like how after a particular age, I need to take my medicines every day, 2 morning, 2 evening. Same way, 2 LR sets, 2 DI sets, you need to keep doing them regularly. Okay, Usha says, I'm strong in maths. I want to leverage it. What should I focus on it? Your focus has to be as good as somebody else's. Yes, you can finish your first round of syllabus earlier and go ahead a little bit faster, but no shortcuts, Usha. Just because you're good at it, don't take that thing and say, okay, I'm going to leave it, I'm going to be relaxed and do it later. That will not work. Don't relax a little bit also. These were three questions which were not related to CAT, not related to arithmetics. I'm just putting them down. I find algebra a little challenging. How should the approach be? Divyansh will come out with one more sessions on algebra. So similar to what I'm doing today in arithmetic, there will be a session on algebra. But very frankly, if I give you the basic stuff, at least do linear, quadratic, APGB properly. Inequalities is not as difficult as people make it sound to be. Do inequalities, high order equations, and functions, maxima, minima, you can come back to later if you're not very good with it. That would be my advice. General question is how economics and statistics are useful in MBA. Suggest some sources for. So Gautam, very frankly, economics and statistics, when you come to your MBA, when you'll actually reach there, I'm assuming you're an engineer and you're asking this out of fear that I should not be left behind. Siddharth, no, I'll come back to your question. Just wait. So Gautam, very frankly, start looking at videos more on economics and all that. You'll find a lot of stuff on YouTube nowadays, interesting stuff. You can ask your faculty at the center, somebody will help you. What about statistics questions? I would wait when you reach CAT. Today, at least this is the basic stuff which we need, mean, median, mode and all that. You need, don't get into the too detailed statistics right now. Vaishnavi, I think your insights on my gap year, if you are one of my students, you can post me on Telegram. Because that's a very specific question about a gap year. We'll take it separately somewhere. Okay, Siddharth says, sir, can we leave module 3 geometry part as it is too tough for me? So Siddharth, I'll give you one advice. First, try this out. If it doesn't work, then you can still take a call. Were you an whatever ICSE, CBSE, state board student, whatever you were, pick up your textbooks of school, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Go through geometry from there. Do all the geometry from there. You passed school, right? And I'm sure you must have passed with decent score. First, go through all 8th, 9th textbook of geometry, 8th, 9th, and 10th ka geometry. And after that, come to CAT geometry. If you're still worrying about it, then you can maybe think of leaving it, but you still can't leave it completely. Okay, I think that's more or less. Laksh, I will let you know. Which batch? Are you in my batch, Laksh? Okay. Thank you, everybody. I hope I've answered questions. Best of luck. And we'll keep meeting for more such sessions. And obviously, I'll meet you throughout the year for revisor sessions. And later, when we do the full revisor series, I will do them. And obviously, most importantly, you all should keep meeting me for these such sessions which you come over here and question me, and also mainly the recorded videos of the test series. That is very, very, very important. Thank you, everybody.